Good evening and welcome to the May 15th, 2023 meeting of the City of Summit Zoning Board of Adjustment. My name is Stephen Spur and I am Chairman of the Summit Zoning Board. In accordance with New Jersey Statute 10:4-10, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to a newspaper of record and has been posted here in City Hall. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to the issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. For the benefit of the interested public, this meeting is being live streamed to the city's YouTube page and also broadcast on Summit's government channel, which is Comcast Channel 34 and Verizon Channel 30. Please note that fire exits are to my right, your left, and at the back of the room where you entered. The city has a listening system to assist the hearing impaired. If anyone needs hearing assistance, please obtain the system here at the dais and return it after our meeting. Andy Ball is the zoning board's attorney. He will advise board members on matters of law and is the key interface with an applicant's attorney. Mr. Ball does not vote on the applications. Stephanie Sulios is a city employee and the zoning board secretary. Ms. Sulios assists applicants with the preparation of their applications, planning our meeting agendas, and keeping our meeting minutes. Ms. Sulios does not vote on the applications. Our board consists of 7 regular members and up to 4 alternates. All members can participate in the hearings tonight, but a maximum of 7 can vote. Most applications require a simple majority to be approved. Some applications require 5 affirmative votes to be approved. You'll be told which majority will be required before we begin our deliberations. Ms. Sulios, you please call the roll of the members.
Sure. Chairman Spur.
Here.
Vice Chairman Steiner is excused this evening. Ms. Newell. Here. Mr. Gonzalez.
Here.
Mr. Mullen is also excused this evening. Mr. Millay.
Here.
Mr. Loigitz.
Here.
Ms. Toth.
Here.
Ms. Sager. Here. Mr. Feskins is excused, as well as Mr. Yuko. You have a quorum. You may proceed.
We generally hear the applications in the order they are listed on the agenda. We try to have each hearing last no more than 30 minutes, but we do understand that some applications are too complex to be heard within that time frame. Each hearing begins with the applicant or their attorney giving an overview of the application and the variances that are required. We then hear from any expert witnesses the applicant may have to help explain the application and why the variances are needed. The board members may ask questions of the applicant, their attorney, and the expert witnesses. Once the board professionals and board members have completed their questioning, the public will have an opportunity to ask questions. This is not the time to tell us what you think about this application. That opportunity comes at the end of the hearing. Before you ask your questions, please clearly state your name, spell your last name, and provide your address. It is important that our court reporter be able to keep a clear and accurate public record. The court reporting is done through the audio-visual system, so speaking into the microphone is particularly important. After all witnesses have been heard, members of the interested public have their second opportunity to speak, and at that time you may express your opinion, positive or negative, about the application. Then the public hearing is closed and we enter into executive session where board members discuss the application and vote. You will be able to listen to our executive session, but you will not normally be able to participate in our discussion. Most applications are heard and decided in the same evening. If an application requires additional information or testimony that cannot be presented tonight, we will carry your application to another date, and it will not be decided during this meeting. Krista Anderson, the city's zoning officer, has asked that I remind all applicants that they must read carefully the resolution that documents the zoning board's decision and to pay particular attention to the conditions contained in the resolution. For example, if a landscaping plan is required, you must obtain one and submit it to John Linson, the city's forester. If a grading plan is required, you must have one prepared by a civil engineer and submit 3 copies along with the application fee to the city's engineering division. Failure to satisfy all conditions in a resolution will result in a delay in approving your application, as it will necessitate additional follow-up from zoning and other city staff. The resolutions documenting the board's decision will normally be available 1 month after we decide the application. Before we review the agenda, if you'll please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So we'll first ask a representative of each of the applications to join at the podium. First, 104 Woodland Avenue, Aaron and Ann Karp. Just come up here. Good evening. I assume you're the Karps?
We are.
Hello, welcome.
Hi, I'm Ann.
Just before we run through, do you have any witnesses with you this evening?
We do. We have our architect, Dan Ensign from Mendham Design, and we have Joseph Bocci from EKA Associates. He's our engineer.
Excellent. And then, think you're going to take 30 minutes?
I I don't think we need 30 minutes, but I think
Awesome.
we'll do better than 30 minutes. That's what I hope.
That's the goal to aspire to. So grab a seat. We're going to run through the other quick cases here, and then we'll have you up first for the presentation. Next is 7 Linda Lane. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Shenbo Huang, Huang, 711.
Excellent. Any witnesses with you this evening?
Yes, I have my architect, Adam, here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's it?
That's it.
That should definitely be under 30 minutes then. All
Thank
right, grab a seat. Wonderful. And then 709 Springfield Avenue, the rest of the attendees for the meeting, I presume.
Good
Mr. Weber?
evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, James Weber of Alfonso and Weber. We have 4 witnesses tonight. 2 are recalled from the prior hearing of March 6th, and then we have the landscape architect and the professional planner.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Weber. All right, we'll have the carps back up, and we'll begin with the first application of this evening.
And before you start, I'll just swear you in. If you could each raise your right hand. You swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matters, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
And then one at a time, please state your name and spell your last name.
My name is Ann Karp, ANNEKARP.
And I'm Aaron Karp, AARONKARP.
Thank you.
So just tell us a bit about the application, why you're here tonight, and then we'll let your experts do the heavy lifting for you.
Excellent. So I'm really just here to introduce us. We are a young family. We've just purchased a home. When I say just, I mean, I guess we purchased it in October, and it's taken us a long time to get to tonight, so this is a very exciting night for us. We have been looking at homes in town for a really long time, and we found a home in Summit that met almost all of our requirements. We have a young family. We have 3 young children, ages 9, 7, and 1. And we needed this home to be a little bit bigger than it was. So prior to purchasing the home, I looked up who the zoning officer was and reached out to Krista Anderson. She was so helpful in advising us prior to making the purchase. And Krista, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you. So we got her advice, which basically was ask for as little as possible. So that is what we have tried to do tonight. And here we are. So, just things I want you to know is that we really care about this community. We care about making this community beautiful. This particular home was built as a center hall colonial in the 1980s. And it's like a decent looking home, but the homes surrounding it are really showstoppers. And it's important to us that we are really additive to the community, that we really bring this home up to par architecturally with what else is in the neighborhood. So that is what we want to do. And for that, by the way, while I'm thanking people, Stephanie, thank you so much for all of your help and coordination. I really appreciate it. So really what we have here is we have our architect who's going to take you through the plans, and we have Joe, who's going to take you through sort of the engineering aspects of the plan. And with that, I'll pass it off to Dan Ensign, who is our architect from Mendham Design. Thank you so much.
All right, Dan, before you begin, is there anyone here from the public this evening for 104 Woodland Avenue? Okay, then we should move fairly expeditiously. We'll take it. It's a nice easel.
And if you could raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matters, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and spell your last name.
My name is Daniel Ensign. Last name is Encin.
Thank you. And have you appeared before this board recently?
Not recently. I have in the past, though.
Can you briefly describe your background, experience, and 3 boards you've appeared before recently?
Sure. I'm the principal of Mendham Design Architects. I'm a licensed architect since 2007. I hold a professional Bachelor of Architecture degree from New Jersey Institute of Technology, and I've appeared in front of various local municipal boards adjacent to town here, Chatham Township, Chatham Borough, Madison, Milburn.
Licensed in New Jersey, I imagine?
Yes.
All right. Any questions from the board, or would you like to accept his credentials?
We'll accept your credentials. Welcome back.
Thank you.
All right, what do you got for us, man?
And so I'll just give, before talking about really anything in detail about the house. I'll just give a general overview of what the project is, what variances we're asking for, and then I will go ahead and pass it to Mr. Bocci to give a site and engineering kind of breakdown. The house in question is, the property is 104 Woodland Avenue. It's located in the R25 zone. As Ann said, it is, the house was constructed in 1985. So it's different from many of the houses around it in that they were built in the early 1900s and have a lot of specific character and detailing and things that you would find of that time. This house, while they tried to approximate some of those things, does not have many of those details. They tend to be more approximations than anything else. So a big part of what they were looking to do was to bring the house more in keeping with the older surrounding homes, and then also do an addition to the house to improve it and enlarge it a little bit in order to bring it up to more current living standards, specifically getting a larger kitchen, family room area, and living space. In the R25 zone, the area of the lot is 25,112 square feet, so it is conforming in terms of size. The main issue that we are dealing with and the variance that we're asking for is for total side yard minimum setback. The lot, as you can see, and you'll see also on the engineering plan, the lot is extremely triangular in shape. So it has a little over 200 feet of frontage, but roughly 47 feet of kind of back end of the property on the rear line. So it's very triangular in shape. And as a result, we have, at the front yard setback line, we have a very kind of wide dimension, over 171 feet. And so the resulting required minimum side yards, or combined side yards for that, at 40% in this zone would be 68.5 feet. The house as it stands right now is non-conforming for total combined side yard. It's at 36.3%, which is 62.1 feet. And the proposed project would bring the house to, or bring it within that of 27.45, 27.45%, and that combined number would be 47.01 feet. If the house were a more typical conforming lot with 100 foot or something similar to that in terms of width, there would be no issue. It's the triangular shape of the lot that is causing the issue with going over that total combined side yard line. The minimum required side yard for each side is 17 feet, and we do conform with that requirement. We're actually proposed at 18.78 feet. And so I'll go ahead and pass it off to Mr. Bocci to give you more of a detailed view of what the site and the various constraints are, and then I'll come back and give some information about the addition and house.
We'll offer our board professionals any questions for the architect now. Understanding he'll come back. Anything you want to grab on? Ed, you're good?
No
good
questions.
You're okay?
Yep.
Board members, any questions for the architect at the moment? No? Okay. And then I didn't see anybody sneak in, so I don't see anybody interested public. So you can switch. Let's hear some engineering testing.
I'll be brief. Don't worry.
It seems very well choreographed, so I believe.
Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Please state your name and spell your last name.
Joseph Bocci, B-A-C-H-I, 328 Park Ave, Scotch Plains, New Jersey, EKA and Associates.
And can you briefly describe your background, experience, and brief what you here before recently?
Yeah, I have about 11 years' experience in civil engineering, been licensed for 6 years, a graduate of Rutgers University, majoring in civil engineering. Appeared before numerous boards in the area, Westfield, Scotch Plains, Barwood, Hillside, all throughout Union County.
Also licensed in New Jersey.
Yes, and in good standing.
Any questions from the board, or would you like to accept this credentials?
Accept credentials, we may proceed.
Great. So Dan stole my thunder a little bit. I think he covered a lot of the zoning, but I'll go into it a little bit more. So as he mentioned, we're in the R25 zone. The site is shown here, and you can see the generally triangular shape with the 200-foot frontage narrowing down to 47 in the rear. So it's a very uniquely shaped lot. Bound on all sides by residential properties, and then Woodland Ave to the east here. I'm going to go to the existing conditions from the topographic and boundary survey. Just quickly describe what's going on the site now. So as you can see, and again, here's the 200-foot frontage and this triangular shape that kind of narrows where the house is. That's kind of causing that variance we're requesting, that side yard variance. You have the existing two-story frame dwelling here, paved driveway on the north side shown here. Some other improvements in the rear, a deck, patio, concrete pad, front landing, obviously in the front of the house with the walkway towards it. In terms of topography, it's generally sloped from the rear to the front with stormwater kind of finding its way onto Woodland Ave and a little bit into this corner here. Apologies. Can you guys still see that? With the high elevation of about 360 in this corner here, down to 348 on the driveway apron. It's essentially it for the existing condition. Not much to it. It's pretty standard single-family dwelling, driveway, various improvements around the house, landscaping. Going to sheet 2 of our set, the proposed plan. Again, you'll see the same two-story dwelling here with the majority of the addition, the proposed addition, in this rear corner here. Along with that, additional patio area, a new entrance on the north side here, redoing the existing landing in the front, and then very minor grading in the rear, just tying off the property. We're proposing to remove a concrete pad located in the rear, a very minor 6 linear feet of fence on the side here, just to tie into existing fence. We have silt fence noted as required. That'll kind of capture any runoff with sediment coming along this side and coming along the front. And yeah, I think, Dan already talked about this, but again, the one variance is a total side yard setback. We do comply with the 17-foot side yard setback on each side. You can see that line here, it's dashed, kind of just nicks the corner, but we're within the requirement. Same on this side, that's shown here. And as Dan mentioned, it's really due to the way you calculate the total side yard. It's based on a percentage of the front yard, and with the lot being, so uniquely shaped, you're counting the side yard from, this area here, but it gets narrower and narrower. So to fit, a normal sized house there, it's, quite the constraint for the carps there. That really concludes my presentation. There are some comments from Colliers I wanted to address, unless you guys have questions now, or?
We'll let Dipti take the first shot at you then.
Sure.
You want to bring any, and typically, by the way, we condition the application on acceptance of the engineer's letter just to capture all these notes. Do you find that objectionable? That's okay? Excellent. Good answer. All right, Dipti, let's run through it though real quick. Anything you want to put some particular
Yeah, no
emphasis
problem.
on?
If you want to address them, I'll just let you address the comments real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
So I'm not going to go through every comment.
No,
We'll agree to anything that's
Yeah,
not
that's
commented
fine.
on. I know 6A, there was a question about the height of the fence. So I mentioned 6 linear feet of fence. It's just to tie in the proposed addition to the existing fence. The question was, how high is that going to be? Existing fence is 4 foot high.
Okay.
That's really, if you want to know any more,
That's
let me
it.
know.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
6B, question about, the concrete pad in the back. That'll be restored with 5 inches of topsoil, assuming you agree with that, and we'll add that note to the plan.
No problem.
Excellent.
Put the silt fence around it. That's it.
Yep, okay. Regarding silt fence and limit of disturbance, calculated about 5,500 square feet. So any required soil erosion sediment control permits or certifications, make sure that they get them and are in compliance with that. Comment 12, you deferred to the city forester. We are proposing to remove 1 tree in the backyard. Just for the record, and I'm sure you guys saw, the city forester had no objection to that. The Carps did tell me if you guys want additional trees planted, they're willing to, compromise if anyone feels differently on the board. Those were the only comments I had that I thought were worthy of addressing, but if there's anything else.
No, you addressed them, thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Just for the purpose of the record, not anticipating any particular impact, negative impact on stormwater management, given the additions? That's all
No,
under control?
we are, yeah, sorry, we are under that 300 square foot threshold requiring it. And even besides, you know, we're technically not required, I don't see any impacts. We're not changing the drainage patterns at all. You know, water's still gonna flow towards Woodland. And, you know, I wouldn't anticipate any negative impact to the surrounding properties or to the surrounding neighborhood.
Perfect. And then the Historic Preservation Commission noted some concern of the impact of the rear addition to the historic 1907 Wallace House at the rear of the property. I assume that's regard to visual impact.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I'll say from a construction standpoint, we're over 50 feet away. I'm not anticipating any large construction equipment, probably just those small bobcats you've probably seen around town.
Is there any concern, though, about the screening? Is it appropriate to include any additional vegetation to screen visually the 1907 Wallace House from?
The area is very well vegetated. If we could introduce an exhibit, I know you have a photo, or Dan, if you want to take care of that.
You can speak to it in your testimony if you'd like to.
Okay. Yeah, but it's very well vegetated in the rear. And again, construction standpoint, not anticipating any impacts, and drainage as well. There's no additional water going towards that house in our plan.
Ed, was there anything that caught your eye?
No, it just seems there is a hardship, as indicated by the configuration of the property.
For sure. Any questions from the board then, for the engineer? No? Okay, well done.
Thank you, guys.
Let's have a little more architecture then. I don't know how I feel about these TVs. I feel like I'm watching myself.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll speak to the comments about the historic house to the left next door, and we also have an exhibit with an aerial photograph of the vegetation next to the property.
Thank you.
Everything that you're looking at here is part of the package. There's no new exhibits or anything else. This first page is the existing conditions and existing floor plans of the house. So fairly typical center hall colonial. You come in, foyer to the center, dining room to the right, living room to the left, kitchen and other spaces beyond. There's a family room constructed off to the right-hand side with then kind of a small laundry area and garage to the back. So being constructed in 1985, very, very typical of what you would typically find. Second story, very, very similar. Bedrooms located up above, bathrooms as well, and that's really the extent of the second story. So sheet A2 is the proposed floor plan with the addition of the first floor. And so there's reconfiguring of the existing main floor of the house to create a better living area and better sizes of spaces, better flow throughout the space. The garage remains in its existing location and does not get any larger. It's an existing two-car garage. And so the bulk of the addition is in the rear and rear left, which is creating a larger space for a kitchen area with adjacent dining space, and then a good-sized family room off to the left of that. The second story, very similar. There's already existing space above the garage below, so our new addition is just adding additional space at the top, reconfiguring certain bedrooms, and then creating a primary suite with closet dressing area, primary bath, and buffered entrance from the main hall into that primary bedroom. Not in question with what we're looking at for the variance, but this is an attic floor plan. There is proposed finished attic space, and all of that does conform with the requirements for floor area ratio. We've provided the calculations for any ceiling areas that are greater than 7 feet in height. Sheet A5, this is the proposed front elevation. Again, not in question with anything having to do with the land use or variance or zoning requirements. But what is being done here, and which kind of keys into the rest of the house, is based on when the house was constructed. It has a very low slung roof, and also the house, for some reason, was constructed not to be symmetrical. There's about 2 feet of space off to the left-hand side of the house, which, for some reason, when this house was designed, was left out. And so this entire portion makes the house, the existing house, and front door and window locations asymmetrical. Part of the proposed work is to add on that 2 feet to create a house that has symmetry to it and makes sense. These are pre-existing one-story portions of the house with dormers and space up above. Coming around the right side of the house, again, the volumes and the pieces of the house are staying generally the same. There's a proposed small entry portico piece on the side by the mudroom, and there is a new dormer proposed for more space up above the garage. And you can see from this view too, the proposed change in roof. The existing roof is proposed to be removed, and a steeper roof that's consistent with the character of the surrounding homes proposed to go on top, and that allows for that space up in the attic level. So these elevations on sheet A6 are really the pieces in question in regards to the variance. So looking at the rear of the house, there is the existing 2-story house beyond. There is an existing 1-story garage piece with space above, and then the proposed addition is set off to the side here. And in what we're doing is proposing to create an essentially symmetrical gable to what already exists at the garage, and then in a slightly recessed portion, fill in that space in between. So in order to take some of that same symmetry that you have from the front, bring it to the rear, and then there's a small patio area with an open pergola that comes out of that, with a door that comes out of the family room, living space, and kitchen to then access the entire backyard area. From a zoning standpoint, clearly the existing portion of the house that's there without the addition is already non-conforming as a result of the triangular shape of the lot and the requirement for the kind of overly large total combined side yard setback. There really is no other reasonable place to add addition to the house. We wouldn't want to go any wider. Coming to the front would not make any sense, and the living space is already somewhat positioned towards the rear with the garage on this end. So it's a natural progression of adding on to the house in order to have kind of kitchen area, family room space. And you can see that from the side. We're creating very much a similar view to what we have pre-existing on the right-hand side, where we have this 1-story element coming out, which screens anything that's beyond it, balances out some of what's already going on this left side of the house. All of the simulated divided light windows are matching authentic shutters with hinges, shutter dogs. All of the materials, the siding will match the existing cedar clapboard that's on the house. Same with the roofing is actually going to be an improvement. There's existing asphalt shingle roofing on the house. Based on the character and the age and the other types of homes that they're looking to blend with, it's proposed that all of the new roof area and existing roof area will all have a cedar shake or cedar shingle, perfection shingle roof on it. I think really the only thing that's different, and it's more a question of the age or the time in which it was constructed, is all of the new trim will be a painted AZEK or cellular PVC. All of the existing trim on the house is wood, but it's not feasible to use a primed wood anymore for fear that it's going to rot within 2 or 3 years. So looking at what's being done, really it's in question here. We've kind of strived with what we're doing here to add just enough to give them the size of what they need to bring it up to current living standards, and not anything beyond that. As a result of that, we conform with all of the other zoning requirements for the lot. It's just this one aspect of total minimum side yard as a result of the triangular shape. In addressing the question about 100 Woodland, and any tree cover or anything, or the impact that it might have, because that is a historic house back behind there, I do have an additional exhibit of an aerial photo.
You can introduce that as Exhibit A1. We can pass it around if you want.
Sure.
And it's your opinion that the screening will be adequate to shield the residents of 100 Woodland from whatever potentially negative visual impact there may arise from this project?
Well, and that would be part of the argument is, I don't see any negative visual impact.
You're the architect,
And-
right?
Right.
Put yourself in the shoes of the 100 Woodland. It's a larger structure that didn't exist before.
Right.
You anticipate the screen to be sufficient to shield them visually from
It will
light
shield
that
it.
might be cast, or I can't, I'm trying to,
Yeah,
I'm
and
reaching here for sure.
It
So
will,
can you explain to me what I'm looking at here? This is a picture of 100 Woodland, and I don't see 104 Woodland at all.
right, this is the
here.
property directly to the left that shares the angled triangular left side setback
Okay.
line.
Okay.
I think the argument is it's so well vegetated currently that this nightmare scenario I'm desperately trying to paint, but not successfully.
Yeah,
Is a
okay.
non-issue.
Well,
Whatever.
and part of, speaking to part of that, I would just refer back to the existing photos that are in the actual application. Specifically, not the last photo, but the photo before last, which is the photo that I'm holding up here. This is what that house is currently looking at. And then this is what it would be when it was completed. So in terms of historic aspect and visual impact, there's a lot of positive change in visual impact to what, if anything, would be seen. But also, on that same end, none of the existing vegetation that does screen the one property from the other is proposed to be removed.
So in your professional opinion, they're already looking at a thing, but after you're done with this project, they'll be looking at a nicer thing?
Better
I,
thing.
100%.
There we go.
All right, perfect. Case closed.
We all look at stuff.
Okay. Just make sure that gets to Stephanie
Yeah.
at the end.
Oh, okay.
You're good.
I had one question. It was the one number I couldn't find anywhere. What's the pitch of the new roof?
The pitch of the new roof, I believe, and I would have to double check, I have a scale here, but it's either an 11 on 12 or 12 on 12 pitch.
Okay. Didn't seem to bother Chris Anderson, but
No,
I
it
just
conforms-
didn't see a number.
It conforms with the required 35-foot maximum building height.
Dipti or Ed, anything you care to ask?
I have nothing.
No question. No? All right, very well. Thank you very much. Unless you have something more.
No, just that essentially in closing, looking at what is being proposed, that, it's we feel that it's an improvement to the character of the existing house. It does not dramatically increase the visual bulk of the house or have any negative impact on the surrounding neighborhood. And that we feel that the variance could be granted without impairing anything from the intent of the zoning ordinance or any real detrimental effect to the surrounding area.
Again, it's only the combined yard setback?
That is correct, the
That's-
total side yard
okay.
minimum setback.
All right.
Excellent. All right. Thank you. You did a wonderful job closing for you. Is there anything you'd like to say as the applicant in closing?
Did you want me to point out where our house was on the?
No.
No, we're good. We're good, we got it. Cool. Then I'll just offer again, if there's any member of the interested public here this evening to offer comments, pro or con, once, twice, seeing none. Okay, wonderful. Then before we move into executive session, I believe there's only one condition. Andy?
That's right. Just our usual, as you noted, compliance with those conditions noted in the board engineer's memorandum.
Torn to see who can start this. Usually it's historic adjacent, so I go to Claire, but this is side yard setback related, so Mr. Millay. Anything you'd like to say regarding this application? No? Okay.
No, we're good.
You're good, all right. Claire, anything you'd like to say?
Okay, yeah. I mean, I went tromping around the property the other day with the folks from JCP&L who were changing out your gas meters at the same time. And, I mean, the house from Woodcroft can't see you. The house behind you on Sherman Avenue is so far back, no one's going to see you. And the house at 100 Woodland is also set very, very far back from the street. I mean, it's not in the visuals, and if it were, this is better. You've got a hardship with the property. This is an easy one to support.
Let's work no harder than we need to. So we want to recognize the regular lot shape as a hardship. I would recognize as well that the setback from the front is already well beyond what the minimum requires for. So not you, but owners, the contractors that originally built the property kind of put you in this position. But notably, I look at building coverage and FAR. You're well under those limits right now. So this is a very responsible project in that respect. There are safety improvements to be had here in terms of the visual, the entryways and the walkway improvements, and then the aesthetic enhancements are surely to be noted, not just because I also live on Woodland Avenue. I'm happy to see this project proceed. Anyone care to add anything else to that? No? Wonderful. I have a motion to approve the application with
I
conditions.
move to approve.
Excellent.
Second.
Yeah, second from Scott. Stephanie, a roll call?
Sure. Ms. Newell? Yes. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Mr. Loikett?
Yes.
Ms. Toth?
Yes.
Ms. Sager?
Yes.
Chairman Spar?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you very much. Go with your project. All right. Okay, come forward. 7 Linda Lane.
All right, and if you could raise your right hand, I'll swear you in. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Shenbo Huang, Huang.
Thank you.
All right, just tell us a bit about the application, what you're looking for, and then we'll hand it over to your expert.
Sure. So I'm Shenbo and my wife Jia, and we are a family of 4 with the 2 kids sitting in the back. My wife is on the business trip, unfortunately cannot come, but here we are. We've been here since 2018, and we've been getting along with our neighbors very well. My wife is also the local organization, Summit Chinese American Association. She's like been the director for 4 years, and she's been like president both starting from this year. So we are looking to add a master suite to our house. Like the house was built in 1968. The bedrooms were relatively small in today's view. The kids' grandparents do come for like extended periods because of long flights, so they usually stay like couple months. And when the grandparents come, they had to share the bathrooms with the kids, and also because the bedrooms were small, so they don't really have much space for themselves. So that's why we are looking for a master. And regarding the garage that we are looking to add, it's also when the more people come to the house, we do see a need that we don't have enough space to park our car. Our current driveway, because of the location, we have only 2 car wide and 1 car length, so it's only enough for 2 cars. But when the grandparents come, we sometimes need 3 cars, and having 3 cars and having 1 car in the driveway is really hard for us to move the cars along. So we are trying to make the driveway to be 3 cars wide. So yeah, that's why we are here today. I do have talked to my neighbors about this about the addition of the master suite. We don't really hear any objections, and the feedbacks were positive. Yeah, so that's my presentation.
Okay, wonderful. Any questions for the applicant from the board or professionals? None? And I'll ask again, any members of the interested public here for this application? None, just tremendously well-behaved children. We'll try to get you out of here. Oh, is there someone? Sorry, you're blocked behind me.
But I'm just an observer.
Okay, if anything catches your eye, let us know, though. Just try to get into my field of view here. Sorry, I can't really see it behind the board. All right, wonderful. Well, thanks, Shengbo. Let's hear from the architect. Nah, it's okay. She seems like she'll play nice tonight, right? But we'll see. Wonderful. Thank you, Shango.
If you could raise your right hand. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matters, the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes,
Please state your name, spell
I
your
want
last
to
name.
say I do. Alan Leonard, Alanleonard.
Thank you, and I believe you've appeared before us relatively recently. Any changes to your credentials since the last time you were here?
Nope.
The
Same.
board would like to accept you
We'll
once
accept your
again.
credentials. Welcome back. All right.
Hi, how you doing?
Very well.
It's been a while, though. I don't remember the screens.
Don't let them distract you. Focus
No.
Eyes in the front.
Should so I marked up some of the exhibits. It's the same drawing you have, but I put the thing on. Should I enter them as an exhibit before we get started?
You can. We'll mark it as A1 and just want to make sure it stays with our board secretary at the end.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep, that's fine.
And I also brought photos for you guys.
Those that are not in the packet? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll mark the photos then A2. That's fine.
Do I mark it or?
You can leave it up there and we'll mark it afterwards.
Okay. All right, so let me pass these out.
Thank you.
And I have them mounted as well. So, Shinbo said he'd like to add a master bedroom. They have an existing colonial house on Linda Lane. Linda Lane's a little unusual where it's sort of just this L dead end. And so it's really kind of a corner lot, but it's just one road. And it actually is an actual unusual corner. It's a small lot, it's a 10,000 square foot lot in an R15 zone. And so we're before you for 2 variances, for front yard setback for the second floor addition. I'm sorry, 3 variances. Floor area ratio and for the driveway enlargement for the curb cut. So, let me just go to the plan. So, as Shengbo mentioned, they have a 4-bedroom house. The house is from the 60s. The 1 bedroom that we're going to create a hallway is a little larger, but it's not very large. They use it as a study now. They have 2 children. And so, but it would be nice to still have the study. So they're going to be a 4-bedroom house with a study. We're not putting a closet in this. The master suite is a pair of walk-in closets, the master bath, and then the bedroom space, a total of 537 square feet. And so one of the things with it, because they are close to the road, and we need these front yard setbacks, what we tried to do is step it in the fronts. It's just stepped back from the front of the garage on both sides to mitigate the volume. Right now, and if you can, look at your photograph. I don't know if mine map the same way as yours. I should know, but I put them in a different order. So there's a garage view on the side. Right now it's this 31-foot 4-inch garage with a mudroom behind, a laundry room and a powder room. And it's just a very large gable roof, which I probably would have done the same thing. They just matched the gable roof, but it's a massive roof. And so it's not big enough to put anything in the sense of it's a very high, they have steps up to the house. But it's just a really massive roof. I don't think it's very attractive. One of the things we're going to do is change the garage door, extend down the roof, once again to buffer it on some brackets, add a window. And then upstairs it steps in at the corner where the tub is. We step it out as a little bay that wraps the corner, do some roof returns, bring this out as a bay element towards the front, just simply to not put a box on top of a box, because that's ugly. So front, some transom windows. They're doing some other things to the front as well, which are not part of the variance. They're adding a railing on a flat roof, entry roof, because it's just a flat roof right now. And then they're adding this gable element up on the roof simply to improve the appearance, but not an issue for variance. And then the back, the bay, and then once again it steps back in, and we're wrapping the lower roof return around once again to just give the feeling and the actual break of the second floor from the first. So the one thing, and I kind of highlighted this, the tax map in yellow. It's a weird kind of street. I don't know if you drove up it before the application. I would think at the corner it widens. The right-of-way widens to like 100 feet. It's this like circular at the corner, and so they're really not. The neighbors aren't on top of each other. So the house I assume was approved as part of when this development was put in, because it's conform. You know, it was. I don't believe they got variances to build it originally. And so there's no other place we can do anything on this house. We can't go to the back, can't go to the front. And so we're going over the garage to do this additional bedroom space. There is a pretty significant landscaping buffer and a fence along, I think they're arborvitaes, but they're tall, like two-story, year-round bushes that go along Linda Lane and then wrap along the back of the property. I couldn't really get a great rear yard because you're compressed, because I couldn't get back with the bushes. So I tried to capture in the photographs. These were taken in the winter. But it's this very wide area in front of their house in the corner. And so nothing feels very tight when you're in Linda Lane there. So we think this is an improvement to the property. I think Shengbo said he had talked to the neighbors. They didn't seem to have any issues with it at all. So we think it's an improvement. So.
Can you speak to the driveway? That's the only real question I have. Sorry to jump ahead here.
No.
So I don't want to characterize it fairly or unfairly. It seems like a pavement relative to what it is right now, but.
It is. They can only fit. I mean, it's 16 feet to the right-of-way, so say 26 feet. There's only a space for a car in front of each of the garages, and they would just like to be able to pull a car over and then still be able to.
So if we look at the photos that you provided.
Yes.
Just where, because I don't believe there's a drawing to this effect, right? I don't think there's a site map or anything, no.
Well, a site plan.
Oh, there's a site plan.
It's on your, it should be on your
drawing.
drawings.
It is on the drawing. So
And
extends-
it's sort of dotted, I stippled in where the new driveway's gonna be.
So it's essentially the width of the home?
No,
Set a little bit on both sides of it?
it's over, I mean, we're coming like 2 feet or so off the back corner of the existing garage. It was simply to fit a third car. Yeah, so that, I mean, a space beyond the door so you could put another car out there.
So it's presently a 2-car garage,
Yeah.
and then we want to accommodate potentially three cars in the driveway.
It's more a maneuvering thing. They wanted the ability to be able to have a car in that spot and be able to access the garage. It's not a very big garage. It has a 16-foot door. I think it's like 21 feet wide. And so for storage, that kind of thing.
Okay, sorry, I jumped ahead there.
No.
Sorry, is there anything you'd additionally like to say before we open to questions?
No, please.
Okay, wonderful. Dipti, or Ed, sorry, I jumped way ahead there. I got excited about the driveway.
Actually, there are other things, Krista, and I'm probably going to miss some on the engineer's letter. There was an error on my part. It didn't
Lot
affect
coverage,
anything
I
on
think,
lot
or-
coverage.
Yeah.
And when I read her letter, I said, I might have added the second floor figure. No, it's stupider than that.
So what do you want to submit as the lot coverage?
All right, so yeah, I went through and added up the figures. It's 2708 existing lot coverage, and which is a 27.03% lot coverage. And they're going up just the driveway to 2857 square feet and 28.52%.
Okay.
The other things that were asked were about the condensers. And so there's 2 existing ones on this side of the house. They're right against the house. It's 15 feet away, so they meet the setbacks. And they're going to add a small unit for the master, so it could be, and they're going to put it behind the house.
The conforming condition, screened appropriately,
Yep.
et cetera, et cetera. Okay. And any plans for a generator?
No
Stealing all
generator.
your stuff here, Dipti. No generator?
And there was one other thing. Oh, the asked about the area disturbance. I'm calculating a little under 300 square feet. They have the paving in full, the one side, the walkway on the other, so it's just to go over the garage.
Is there any objection to accepting the engineer's letter, just capturing all of the notes that Dipti's compiled?
We're going.
Okay, excellent. But Dipti, is there anything that you want to draw attention to from that?
Yes, a couple of things.
You mentioned about the lot coverage discrepancy. I just wanted to point out the plan, the site plan
Yeah.
describes 149 square feet, and I think the lot coverage was 119 square feet, so we just want to make sure that
For the
those are
driveway,
consistent. Is it,
it's 149 square feet of an enlarged driveway.
right, so I think on the zoning information, on the architectural plans, the
Yes.
table, it comes out to be 119 square feet. We just want to make sure the discrepancies.
All right, so I went back and added the figures back up, so I'm
Okay,
comfortable with this.
okay, so it's 149 square feet.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then for the enlarged driveway, there are some units or something?
It's a storage unit.
It's a
They're gonna move
storage
it
unit.
behind
They're
the
gonna
back.
move it behind it. Is there any issue with site distance or anything in the way when you actually?
Turn the
Yeah,
corner.
for the turn.
I mean, there's an existing tree out in the front, but I don't think it affects sight.
Okay,
There's like an evergreen up here in the front, but it's back off the curb of it. I don't think- Has anyone had an issue with?
Shingbo seems okay with it, the tree.
okay. The other thing is, I think, just as a condition, we should just have the site plan of this driveway and the curb cut provided to the city.
For the details?
For the details.
Yeah, what we do
Yes,
for a permit,
absolutely.
if we get approved.
So that's good for Dipti. Anything I'd catch your eye?
Nothing so far.
We're slowly creeping our way around. We did that. We had a zoning approval for the house right in front of you, that historic home.
Oh, is that right?
Whatever, yeah, that was a couple of years ago. I'm showing my age maybe, but I
Nice.
feel like we're slowly rezoning this whole Linda Lane area.
There's a lot of work at the end of the street.
We'll be here. We're here every 2 weeks. Any questions then from the board? Generator. All right. Any questions from the board?
So, I'm sorry, what is the FAR that you're proposing then?
It's 29, the proposed is going to be 29.76. Right now it's 24.4.
But the limit is?
25. I would just add that it's in the R15 zone, and I think my client has one of the smaller lots on the street, so I don't think that the addition itself will be out of place with the neighborhood.
It's your opinion that the lot can accommodate the increase in FAR? It's usually Andy's question.
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. Is the lot undersized for the
It's
zone?
10,018 square feet
10,000 square feet.
in an R15 zone.
What does the R15 zone require?
15,000.
15,000.
So it's well
So
undersized. then.
Well undersized.
Well undersized. Okay.
Very undersized.
All right, that's material, all right, that's good.
I'll just note a housekeeping item. Our zoning officer's memorandum notes the building coverage is slightly over 18% maximum permitted, and it's at 18.61%, but that is a pre-existing condition.
We're not increasing it, so I don't think, did we have to ask for a variance for it?
No, but she just recognized in that memorandum, and I'll note for the record that the board can accept that as a pre-existing non-conforming condition.
Okay. Okay.
Other question?
I'm sorry, did you just say you were asking for 27 point something? or
No,
29.7?
29.76. It's 24.44 right now. It's, I think, 5.36, my memory.
Okay. Before we kind of bring the hearing to a close, though, I flagged the driveway as a potentially contentious issue. Just before we get into deliberations, does anyone else want to share any concerns? And I'm not trying to lead you, honestly, any direction.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of driveway, particularly for a house that has a two-car garage whose purpose is to store cars. And I was wondering if there were a way to bifurcate some of this.
Yeah, may not need to entirely bifurcate, maybe ask for some kind of concession, as especially we're asking for a relatively large increase in FAR, though the lot can accommodate it, which is good. Any other everyone share that feeling? I don't mean to turn the screws here, but you know, it is a give and take.
Yes.
If I think there's issues with this application.
I agree. Could we maybe hear a reason, aside from accommodating like in-laws and parents coming to visit, that might necessitate having a larger driveway? I mean, I'm looking at the property and I know the property, and I would like to say that, yeah, maybe there's like a safety issue, but it's a quiet enough street and it's a big enough turning radius where I don't think you necessarily need to have a wider area and bigger driveway, but maybe you feel otherwise.
It was more just a convenience thing.
Is there something that you see in that driveway? Oh, sorry, I'll deliberate. Hold on.
We do not want to lose our bedroom application for the sake of paving, so we'd be glad to pull that out and just keep the existing driveway.
Extract the additional driveway.
Yeah.
Okay. That'd be wonderful. Thank you, Shane. Thank you. Okay. Anything else draw anyone's attention? No? All right. Give and take of the zoning board. Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anything else you'd like to say in closing?
I think we're good.
Okay. Any members of the interested public here for this application? I don't think so. Shengbo, if there's anything you'd like to say in conclusion? Okay, wonderful. Excellent. Then before we enter into deliberations, I believe the engineer's report's the only condition.
We have two, did suggest the additional
right.
that the driveway, well, actually, no, that's
Yeah.
no longer in play. If they're withdrawing the driveway and curb cut, then we don't need to see driveway and curb cut details. So just the one in compliance with those conditions noted in the board engineer's memorandum.
So then, excellent. So then the variances under consideration are setbacks, building coverage. Are we treating that as a variance or recognizing it as
a pre-existing non-conforming use?
The
So-
FAR is really the driving factor here.
Yes.
Okay. Who'd like to begin deliberation? This feels like a Scott one. What do you guys think? Scott, what do you think?
I didn't raise my hand. Now that we've gotten that driveway situation cleared up, I can see myself being in favor of this application. They have a severe handicap with the size of this lot. I mean, it's even less than 10,000, I think it's 9 something. And that they're only going to this FAR is pleasantly surprising, and they're not increasing the footprint of the house, right? So I think they're really getting bang for their buck here, and I would be in favor of it.
Okay. Scott? Anyone else care to add to Mr. Lickett's? What do you think, Liz?
I would agree. It's a modest addition, subtracting the driveway, and it's definitely a hardship with the smaller lot, so I would definitely approve this application.
All right. I just reaffirm, right, the undersized lot is a significant hindrance for the improvement of this property, but the architectural improvements are certainly very thoughtfully included. The way it's not just a footprint on a footprint is appreciated, and it makes good use of the lot configuration as it stands today. There's clear aesthetic improvements to be had. We appreciate the concession on the driveway. It's a good kind of give and take. And somehow I am tremendously impressed your children are so well behaved recently. So thank you for that as well. With that, when the conditions is noted, we'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second? Okay, Stephanie, a roll call?
Sure. Ms. Newell?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Mr. Loikett?
Yes.
Ms. Toth?
Yes.
Ms. Sager?
Yes.
Chairman Spur?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Good luck. Let's make sure the marked plans get left with Stephanie. All right, well, we're about an hour in. Let's take a quick 5-minute recess just to kind of switch positions, let Mr. Weber set up, and we'll be back to hear 709 Springfield Avenue.
Starting young, you know?
Longest time.
This will be 30 minutes or less too.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Let's hope so. All right, I think we have all the members. I'm on my last cupcake. And you slap my wrist if I reach warm again, all right? I also brought oranges, but I haven't eaten those yet. All right, let's get started. Mr. Weber, 709 Springfield Avenue.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, James Weber and Samantha Alfonso of Alfonso and Weber on behalf of the applicant. This is a recurring application, having previously been before the board on March 6th. At that time, we heard from Mr. Costera. Mr. Costera, Prospect Street, is the proponent of the application that's before the board. We heard from the engineer, Fred Stewart, and we heard from the architect, Dave Robinson. Plans have been revised subsequent to that hearing in concert with the comments of the board's professionals, the board itself, and also the concerns that were expressed by Mr. Bowen with regard to the amount of landscaping at the rear of the property. With regard to the application now, the issue of the floor area ratio. I don't know if the board has seen the administrative comments of the zoning officer, of the planner, and the fact that this had become a bit of an issue. So in other words, do you count for the credit that is allocated for your 24 by 24 space, 586 square feet? When you have a two-car garage, you get a credit, 586 square feet. Our position was, well, we're required to have 4 bays, so we get a credit 4 times 586. The other approach was don't get a credit at all because you're a different setting. The fact that this had come up left everyone a little bit confused and wondering what is the answer.
So what did Krista say?
Well, Krista said, ask the board. Mr. Snikes, ask the board. So we went back and we asked the board. And from the board's decision, in 2017, this issue had come up on the 248-250 property. Same 2 dwelling units, 2 townhomes within the dwelling units. And at that point, with 1 garage, the credit was 586 square feet. And that created a variance of 54.47%, and that was what was approved by the board in its resolution back in 2017. Some of the board members here were on that board at that time. And I believe Chairman Spur, when we had to come back on the subdivision, you voted on that as well. So we looked to the board, and the answer was the board had already made a legal decision saying when you have this situation, this is what we're applying. And as a result, the answer is that you get 1 586 for 1 garage building. You do not get it per bay.
Is it 576?
586, what did I say?
It's 576.
576, right?
Yeah, thank you. And so that credit counts for 2, and as a result, the floor area ratio that everyone has agreed on is 32.05, where 25% is the standard. Of that 32.05, there are aspects of the development that contribute to that. Those aspects include the peaked roofs. Those peaked roofs and the 7 feet over, which Krista Anderson at the original hearing had asked for that to be confirmed, come up to around 4.5%. And then you have the garage that is not allowed a credit. That garage that is not allowed a credit is around 718 square feet, which comes to approximately 2.56%. So the total FAR associated with the garage and with the peaked roof comes to 7.46%. When we subtract that from the 32.05, we're at 24.59. The other aspect is with regard to building. Are there any questions of me with regard to the FAR calculations.
And I'll just chime in, note that I have had a chance to review the code as well. I do agree with that interpretation. It is ambiguous in our code about how to treat these variance situations where it's not just a neat 1 or 2 car garage. It refers only to the required garage. So since there are 2 garage buildings in this case, I think the fair interpretation is that it would get the exemption for one of each of those garages, even though they have multiple bays.
Sounds like an annual report item for anyone that was paying close attention.
Very well.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Yes.
I concur with that interpretation, and especially, it doesn't seem that the ordinance definition contemplates multifamily buildings in the residential FAR calculation. So therefore, that's where we are right now in order to make the proper interpretation. I would agree. I believe they're taking 576 for the 2 individual garage buildings, each one containing 4 garages. So that's where that adds up to 32%.
Any questions on these calculations?
Then with regard to building coverage, the building coverage has increased with the additional 203 square feet that was allocated to the garages, so that there would be a larger bay that would conform with the city's directive to have a bay that's functional. And as a result, that building coverage has now increased and is at 20.54%, where 18% is permitted. Of that amount of area, the 203 has contributed, and when we look at the building coverage here, the covered porch in the front of the properties is included, and then the covered patio at the rear is included. When those are removed, I believe that the number comes down into the 18% range, and as a result, it's attributable to the architectural amenities, having a covered front porch, and then having the covered patios at the rear. With regard to lot coverage, again, we have a little bit of increase because of the fact that it's necessary to have the pavement extend to account for the wider garages. And that lot coverage has been reduced as much as possible by the patios have now been reduced approximately 1,200 square feet. So there were the private patios in the private yards, and those have been reduced in terms of their lot coverage. The patios remain the same, but there's a larger amount of area that's devoted or dedicated to the plants. The other variances attend to the height of one of the walls of the garage. So they don't want an exposed wall under the ordinance larger than 10 feet. Here, because this development is stepping into the hillside and using the buildings in order to avoid an escarpment and complete excavation of the property, but to build into it, you end up with walls at the back that are higher than the 10 feet. We have our landscape architect here, and he will be testifying as to what that will look like and the landscaping that will be attended to achieve that. I think that Krista in her comments talk about they should be perennials, but I'll let the landscape architect address that himself. With regard to the structures, now of course, because we have the 2 garages, they're larger than what's permitted. I think it's the maximum size is 24 by 24. But because we have each garage containing 4 bays, they're larger. Driveway width. The driveway width that's permitted in this zone is, I believe, a 15-foot curb cut, and then you have a 12-foot wide driveway. We are at a larger curb cut. I think we're at 24 feet. And then we will widen to a 16-foot paved driveway with 1 foot of permeable pavers on each side. Now, I mentioned permeable, but under your ordinance, permeability is still included in lot coverage. So even though steps have been taken to manage lot coverage in terms of allowing for the permeability, nonetheless, in terms of the variance that's requested, it has to be consistent with the DRO. With regard to that, I'll be recalling the architect and the engineer, and the architect and the engineer will walk through the changes themselves. There wasn't, a question comes up with the combined side yard setback. Because you have two buildings under Krista's view, each building meets the combined side yard, because they meet the combined side yard. Mr. Snikes points out that the side yards of the property shouldn't contribute to the side yard for each building.
I've never heard him that exasperated, though. Just a little embellishment there.
So the side yard requirement is, I believe, and I'm looking for it here. I don't have that, Mr. Snikes. I think it's around, go ahead.
Total combined side yard?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we had, it's required to be 35%. And I believe that amounts to 52 feet.
That was, I heard it in the 50s as well.
Yeah. Excuse me, 1 second. It's not in that section. For some reason I can't find it, but why don't you continue and I'll look it up.
We'll have that for the board as to the specific number as the application proceeds. The other variance, of course, is the use variance. This is a single-family zone in the R15 zone, and what's being proposed are the two townhome-style, two-family homes. Unless the board has any questions? Yes?
I just found it, thank
Good.
you. It's actually on your zoning table. It's listed as required at 52.25 feet in total.
And what is being provided?
I think you have listed 31 feet.
We would point out that the light, air, and open space that is looked for with regard to a combined side yard is met by the design that's presented here to the board. Unless the board has any questions of me.
I have a question. So, does the DRO or does Krista, or, I mean, is there an agreed-upon methodology for how to calculate the total combined side yard setback in this kind of a situation where you have two buildings on one lot?
Not in this kind of situation. It's anticipating the R15 zoning, which is single family.
So maybe something else for the annual report?
Except that you may want to refer to another zone and see what the other zone might have.
Right.
But yet,
Or maybe just somehow include the space between the buildings as
Right.
well.
it should. And I think what their engineer has provided is the most conservative. It says 31 feet. They have not added into that. What is the distance? I think it's 20.7 feet between the two
Between them?
proposed buildings. So if you add that in, it's closer to 50 feet combined area. But I would ask the applicants, experts, to testify to that.
And there will be planning testimony this evening?
Yes, there will.
Any questions from members of the board? No. And then I would just ask, are there any members of the interested public here this evening? I see a couple of your faces. Potentially, yep, one. Anybody else over here? No? Okay, wonderful. So if you do have any questions, as we did in the prior hearing, you're welcome to come forward, and then opinions, save them for the end of the hearing. All right, Mr. Weber, welcome your first witness.
I would ask that Mr. Robinson be recalled to the stand to provide testimony in connection with this matter.
Good evening. Good evening. He was sworn previously?
Yes, he was.
So you can begin, Mr. Robinson.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You've been previously sworn in, Mr. Robinson,
Yes, I have.
and at the after the initial hearing on March 6th, did you have a chance to revise your architectural plans?
Yes, we did.
And who did you work with in revising the plans?
Well, we worked with our team. We worked with our owner, Manny, Fred, the site surveyor, engineer, and Ed, our landscape engineer, architect as well.
So when you say Ed, you're saying Ed Clark, the licensed landscape architect?
Yes.
And what did you focus on when you were revising the plans?
Well, we focused on increasing the size of the garages to accommodate the DRO sizes of the interior. So the garages have grown slightly. I'm going to try to circle here. I'm going to go to my architectural one here. So if everyone can see this here, in green.
I don't know if the board members can see that. Is there a darker green that you could use?
Purple. All right. Okay, so the garage is expanded both east and west slightly. And we also altered the garages to add side entry, private side entries to the garages for each individual owner.
So before, once a person had parked their car in the garage, then, and if the door shut, then they'd have to go around. Or if they wanted to get into the garage, they had to lift the garage.
Constantly open and close, yes. But now they have access up the stone walkway on the east and west side of the garage buildings into a private entrance for their particular garage.
So they can park the car, close the garage door, lock everything up, and be
Yes.
able to walk to their unit.
Yes.
And the board had wanted to see rear elevations.
Yes, so we included a new sheet showing the elevations at the rear.
That view right there that you went by,
Which I'm going to circle them, they're right here.
okay, very good. And can you describe what you've circled?
So what you're looking at here is the elevation of the rear of the garage with the garage doors. You're seeing a sloped roof of the garage, and you're seeing the actual location of the dwelling units behind the garage. So those would be the approximate heights beyond of the individual dwelling units of the townhouses, beyond.
And I see the Bowens are here, and the Bowens are the uphill neighbors. So this is the view that they would be seeing if they would just stand on their lot line at the common lot line at the rear of the property?
Yeah, but they would be looking down at these elevations.
Oh, so
They're at
these-
a much higher elevation.
Okay, so this elevation is, from an architectural standpoint, just looking straight on for measurement and for
Correct.
objectivity.
Correct. And I just wanted to also note that we carry the same materials that we've used on the other facades of the garage to the rear of the facades.
And can we see the side elevations?
For example, this is the one from the east looking west. So this is the area of the approximate retaining wall, which I want to note that that's where the existing retaining wall is today of the existing development. And the house...
Do you show the lot line on this elevation to the rear?
I don't show it on my architectural section, but it is approximately right here.
Very good.
I just wanted to note that from our visits to the site, we took the development, which is currently here, which is up against this demising wall, roughly right here, and pushed it away from the back lot toward the front. One of our goals was to align the facades of the new development with the prevailing front elevation of the block, recreating the streetscape. Because the current layout of the dwelling unit and the professional office space is set far back from the site with a surface parking lot out front.
Very good. And did you have a chance to review the comments of Krista Anderson?
Yes.
And with regard to floor area ratio, you've heard me make indications as to what the amount of square footage was devoted to the attic, what amounts were added by her with regard to the attic area.
Mhm.
Can you describe what it is exactly that is added in the attic and what amount it contributes to the floor area ratio?
We developed a sheet, a 2.3 FAR for Krista Anderson, and designated the areas that were below 5 feet, from 5 feet to 7 feet, and then above 7 feet. So for FAR purposes, everything here is above 5 feet.
Well,
And
FAR is 7 feet Over 7 feet,
And then,
right?
yeah, the 7-foot section is in the middle of that, including the circulation of the stair, which is here, which is in the center of the attic space where the peak of the roof is.
And the FAR, then, is that necessary to achieve the peaked roof?
It's my professional opinion that the architectural style of the roof is really important to match the neighborhood characteristics. So yes, I think the steep pitch of that roof is necessary.
I don't see a window.
This building does not have any windows. It's not a livable space. There's no bathroom or plumbing up here. The house, the dwelling unit to the right of it, we put a little small window opening that's for architectural detailing purposes only. It's not a fire egress window. It's simply for aesthetics on the exterior.
And if you didn't have the FAR with this peak, what would the roof line look like?
It would be very flat.
And how much of that attic contributes to FAR? Is it 4.9%?
It is.
And then, in terms of the garage area, I've talked about the fact that there's credit associated with each building, but that leaves a portion of the garage that's still subject to floor area ratio standards of 718 square feet. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And how much does that contribute to the floor area ratio? If I said 2.56%, would that be accurate?
That is correct.
And is it your understanding that under RSIS, the Residential Site Improvement Standards, garages would not be required?
They're not required for RSIS.
And you're not at all recommending that there not be garages here?
No, I believe it's part of the design review ordinance that the two-car garage is required per dwelling unit.
Well, in terms of the overall use from an architectural standpoint, would you agree that having a garage is essential to this?
I believe it is. I believe it is.
And did you and Manny explore any different designs with regard to the property?
We did.
What were they?
We looked at multiple configurations of units on the site. We looked at single family on this site. We felt that because of the distinct slope of the site, not only going from north to south, but also from southwest to northeast, a configuration of multiple elevations was particularly useful and adequate for this type of site, where we could break it apart. We looked at circulation coming into the site from one entrance and coming out another, which put a loop around the whole site, which was not looked at favorably as part of the team. We looked at entering the site from one side and having side garages on this site, but we felt that that was taking away, had a negative impact to the site and also the neighbors. We just felt that on this site that stacking developments, and you could tell from the front elevations that each floor plan does go up. I'm exaggerating here, but it's slowly going up I really exaggerate here. But basically, every floor plate of the ground floor is 1 foot higher as you go from west to east. And that's because also of the land. You can see the slope along the front of the houses here, and you can see it as well as in the elevations of the private patios in the back. You can see the slope going up and up that way.
Chris Anderson had pointed out that accessory structures should not have the two lowest accessory walls greater than 10 feet. What's the height of the lowest walls, and what are they facing?
The walls, I'm assuming this is the one you're speaking on here, it's facing the private yards of each individual dwelling unit. It's approximately 15 feet. And what we did architecturally is try to break down that height with differentiating materials.
What do you mean by differentiating materials?
Well, we're carrying the fieldstone veneer, which is in the front of the dwelling units. We're bringing it back to the garages, and we're establishing a water line, per se, at the back of the garages facing the private patio yard areas. And then we fill where the windows are of the garages with paneling and window openings, fenestrations, and such like that.
You say a fieldstone style foundation?
Yes.
What does that look like?
Well, it's natural stone that's supported by the foundation walls. So we're not seeing CMU walls, we're not seeing stucco,
What CMU means?
concrete masonry units. We're not seeing cinder blocks or just concrete. This is architectural style. I think there's some examples of this on other sites adjacent to this property. So we're trying to keep that character together.
And I had gone over with the board building coverage, indicating that the front porches are included in building coverage and that the covered patios are included in building coverage. Can you bring up the plan? Well, you have. So can you show for the board where the covered porches are?
This will be the front porch of Unit A, and this is the covered patio of Unit A, accessible off of the dining
And what you're
kitchen.
showing when you say this is, you've highlighted on sheet, do you know what number sheet that is?
A 2.1.
A 2.1.